В свое время вы предсказали поражение западной коалиции в Ираке. В частности, в 2003 году вы заявили португальской радиостанции TSF, что каждый раз, когда американские войска сталкиваются с иракскими войсками, вы в смысле, можете выиграть несколько тактических сражений, но не сможете победить в стратегическом плане. Ваше предсказание по Ираку пока не сбылось, но очень похожая ситуация случилась в Афганистане. Мой вопрос следующий. Выигрыши на тактическом уровне и проигрыш в конечном итоге на стратегическом уровне. Не является ли это признаком падения уровня аналитической работы в США и НАТО? И как это может отразиться на Украине?
Let's go back to the 2003 statement made to the Portuguese. Did the United States take Baghdad? I mean, of course, American troops entered Baghdad and we occupied Baghdad. Did we ever secure Baghdad? Was Baghdad ever ours? And the answer is no. Iraq was never ours. We were there. Every time the insurgency fought us, we won. But we lost. In 2011, we left with our tails between our legs. So I was right. And the same thing in Afghanistan. We spent 20 years defeating the Taliban in every battle we fought. But in the end, we left our tails between our legs. We lost. War is an extension of politics by other means. I say this all the time. I steal it from Clausewitz and other people much smarter than me, Sun Tzu and other military thinkers. We need to understand that winning a battle does not win a war. A war must have sound objectives, achievable objectives. It should be fought in a just cause, a cause that is supported not only by the people who are sending troops to war, but ultimately by the people against whom you're struggling. So that once you achieve a military victory, they will recognize the need for a just settlement, a just outcome. This is why we succeeded against Japan. This is why the United States and the Soviet Union succeeded against Nazi Germany. Because at the end of the day, the defeated Japanese and the defeated Germans recognized that what had gone before them was wrong and therefore needed to be defeated. And now they needed to work together with those who defeated them to build a better future. When you take a look at Saddam Hussein's Iraq, there's widespread acceptance in the West that Saddam Hussein was a dictator, a brutal dictator, an evil man who needed to be replaced. And while there were many in Iraq who may have shared this assessment, there were many in Iraq who did not share this assessment. And indeed today, if you take a look at the situation in Iraq, there are many people who can think back to the decades of the 1970s and 80s and even the 90s and say life was better under Saddam Hussein than it is today in the post-American invasion and occupation reality. We lost Iraq because while we can win the battle, we had no plan, no vision. There was no justification worthy of the war that was being fought. Getting rid of Saddam Hussein without knowing who we were going to replace him with and why, and without getting the support of the Iraqi people beforehand, was the roots of defeat. The same thing in Afghanistan. I think we never fully realized to the extent to which the Taliban was a product of the Afghan people. We don't have to agree with Pashtun tribal ethics. We don't have to agree with the way that Pashtun men treat Afghan women. Doesn't matter what we believe, it's what they believe. And we sought to invade and replace them with something that we wanted, not something they wanted. And the end result was our defeat. Is this a shortcoming on the part of military commanders? No. Frankly speaking, the Marine battalion commander who was sent to Afghanistan won. Every time his men went in the field, he killed the Taliban. Ask the Taliban, when the Marines were there, what did they say? We don't like to shoot at the Marines because the Marines don't go down to the ground. The Marines run at the sound of the guns. The Marines hunt us down and kill us. That's a successful Marine commander who has properly indoctrinated his men with the will to fight. And yet we lost Afghanistan. Not because of the Marine, but because of the politician, because of the elected officials, because of the people who lacked a vision of why we were there. Winning the battle is the easy part. I was a Marine. I will never lose a battle. My Marines will never lose. We will always win. Forever. And yet we lose every war we fight in lately. Why? Because we're bad fighters? No. Because our politicians are bad thinkers. That's the failure. The failure is on the part of the political people who believe that there is a military solution to every problem. There is no military solution to every problem. When you send in the military, it means that there is no solution, because killing people is never a solution. The solutions come by negotiation, by talking, by working out the problems peacefully. Once you get in the business of killing people, you fail. And if you don't have a vision about what you're going to do once the bodies stop dropping to the ground, then you're going to lose. And the United States has been losing a long time. Not because our military is bad, our politicians are bad. The American policy that led up to this conflict was a policy that was detached from reality. It was a fantasy that the United States, together with their NATO allies, would be able to pressure Russia into submission. We wanted Russia to return to the 1990s. We wanted Russia to be weak. We wanted weak Russian leadership. We wanted a Russian economy that we controlled. We wanted to dictate the domestic political reality to Russia. And the way we decided we were going to achieve this was to fundamentally weaken Russia by stripping Ukraine away from its sphere of influence, from its orbit. That's bad politics. It's very bad politics.
Bad politics.
And it's unrealistic politics. It shows an absolute disregard and misunderstanding of Russian domestic political reality. Anybody who bought into this plan knows nothing about Russia. I'm not here to say that Russia is perfect. It is not. I'm not here to say that Russia is the strongest nation in the world. It most certainly is not. But I am here to say that when it comes to defending Russia's interests, Russia has logic, it has history, and it has the will to do so. It has the law and reason on its side. And when you compare that with the American-led approach, Russia has good politics, we have bad politics. And that means that any conflict that's going to be waged because of this clash of good politics versus bad politics, the bad politics is going to lose. Ukraine is on the side of bad politics. And tragically, Ukrainian soldiers are being sacrificed in service of these bad politics. NATO money and equipment is being sacrificed in service of these bad politics. The Russians, imperfect as they are, and they are not perfect, they have made many mistakes. They have lost thousands of men. They have lost thousands of pieces of equipment. Their economy is suffering because of this. But they're going to win because they have the right, they're on the right side of history. They're politically correct in this approach, and their people are willing to pay the price necessary to achieve victory in Ukraine. The Ukrainian people right now are struggling with how they're going to stay warm this winter, how they're going to eat this winter, how they're going to earn an income this winter. You don't get strong political will from that weakness of a foundation. The trust between the Ukrainian people and the Ukrainian government is diminished severely. There is no trust anymore. And the bond between Ukraine and the West is not a fraternal bond. We don't view them as brothers. Any Ukrainian stupid enough to believe that the West views you as a brother, you deserve what's coming to you. The West is using you as we use the Iraqis, as we use the Afghans, as we use everybody. We're using you to achieve our objective of weakening Russia. Russia will win this conflict. Ukraine will more than likely be destroyed by this conflict, and the West will be weakened by this conflict. Not because the Ukrainian soldier wasn't brave. I don't think you're going to find a single Russian soldier on the front that will tell you that the Ukrainians don't know how to fight. You won't find a single Russian who will tell you that the Ukrainians aren't brave when the time comes to be brave. The Ukrainians are brave. They are fighting, but they're fighting in support of a losing cause. It's a cause not worthy of the sacrifice they're being called to pay. And ultimately, they will be abandoned by the West. We see that now as we speak. The West is already getting Ukraine fatigued. This war has gone on too long. It's costing us too much. And most importantly, we're not achieving the objective we wanted. It appears Russia is winning. So our concern now, how to stop this conflict before Russia wins everything. We're looking for a diplomatic off-ramp that preserves some gains for the West. It's a question of whether or not Russia will accept that. I don't believe they will, but I'm an American. The Russians will have to do what Russia wants to do and Russia needs to do, and that's between the Russian government and the Russian people. But the Ukrainians are stuck in the middle. When Lindsey Graham, an American senator who sits on the Armed Forces Committee, said that this is a war that will be fought to the last Ukrainian, he meant it. And if you're Ukrainian, you must be insulted by that, because it means your lives are worthless to us.
For the last Ukrainian.
You're nothing more than a statistic.